Here we go. September 27th, 2025. Welcome to the live stream. Got some good questions already that I'll get started on as we go. Anything that you need some feedback on having to do with recovery from pornography addiction, recovery from porn-induced sexual dysfunctions, or any other aspect of your life that you'd think I might have some insight on, feel free to ask. Share anything you want. And after today, if you like the feeling of being able to share, and I know you're probably anonymous with the account that you're using here, but if you like that feeling and you want to get more of it, I really do recommend you consider joining the support and discussion group that I run. There's a lot of resources that I provide for people, but that I think is my favorite. It's the one that I push the most because getting around a team of people where you're free to be yourself and share what you're really going through and hear from others who are going through the same things. Some who are much ahead of you, some who are right there with you in the trenches. It's extraordinarily helpful. All right, let's jump into the questions. Hey, Noah. Been rebooting for 355 days now. I've been through many, many flatlines, and the whole process was daunting, to say the least. Today, it finally feels like my libido is coming back to normal. Great. I had the opportunity to rewire with someone, and everything seemed fine. By the way, I'm a 30-year-old male. So my question is, what's left to do now? How will I know if I've retrieved my full capacity or sensitivity? Thanks for the content. You've been of great help along this journey. Well, congratulations on almost a year, 10 days away from a year porn-free. It sounds like you've been through a lot of flatlines. I know flatlines are distressing. They're stressful. It can feel like you'll never have your sexuality back again and you're just not a sexual creature anymore, but they are temporary. And congratulations on it coming to an end and having the opportunity to rewire with someone you're attracted to. That is now the next step. To continue to rewire. You want to listen to your body and not try to push to the red line right away. Sometimes I've seen people make that mistake of they come out of a flat line and now they're having sex twice a day. And that can be too much for their body too soon. You still want to be a bit more gradual in ramping up your sexual activity, see how you feel, rest for a couple of days before doing it again. Because sometimes if you go too hard too fast, you can go right back into a flat line. So take your time, rewire, enjoy yourself. How will you know when you're back to where you should be? Only in retrospect, honestly. For me, it was after I was able to have sex for the first time. I still had a lot of struggles with delayed ejaculation, had a hard time reaching orgasm. After I got over that and was able to reach orgasm almost every time I had sex, it still wasn't to the point where in retrospect I can see now, like, oh, this is how it should feel. So only in retrospect, once you get to the point where you stop seeing the improvements, can you have confidence in like, okay, this is how it should feel. I'm back to quote unquote normal, even though it's never been normal for me in my life because I've been addicted to porn. So that's my advice to you. I don't know if you've talked to the person you're rewiring with, if it's a relationship, if she knows that maybe you have limited sexual experience and what sexual experience you do have, maybe it was negative. You don't even have to get into your porn recovery if you don't want to. Just tell her that I have not that much sexual experience, and the sexual experience I do have, it was not very enjoyable, so it could take me a while to warm up, but I think you're in a very good position. Congratulations on building that foundation of a year porn-free for yourself. Hey, Noah, hope you're doing well. I am. As someone who has been severely addicted since I was 13, I'm 22 now, what are some of the ways I can rewire on my own after a successful reboot if I don't find a girlfriend? Great question. So rewiring, it's that process of retraining your brain to not respond to the stimuli of a computer screen or a phone screen of online streaming pornography, but instead to respond to the real life cues for arousal that happen when you're getting intimate with somebody and going to have sex. Of course, the ideal way to rewire and the only way that will get you across that finish line is real interaction and touch with someone you're attracted to in person. So there's no getting around that entirely, but there are some things that you can do before you have a partner, before you have the opportunity to help yourself rewire and set yourself up for as much success as possible. One of those is porn-free masturbation. Now, it should be in moderation. There are a lot of things to watch out for, some guidelines to keep in mind. I go into depth on that subject in a video on this channel called Is Masturbation Healthy or Not? But if you're doing it no more than, say, once a week, and the fantasy that you're using is very grounded in reality, and it's true to the kind of circumstances you want to respond to in real life in the future, then it can start to pave those pathways in your brain to responding to those cues in real life. Visualization is a very powerful thing. Athletes use it to visualize everything that's going to happen leading up to their performance. They're visualizing performing very well. They're visualizing winning. And then that makes it easier to make that visualization a reality when it comes. And you can do the same thing with your fantasy. So don't just jump right to sex. Imagine, meeting up for a date, the feeling that you get when you look into her eyes or when you make her laugh. Imagine touching her hand for the first time, hugging, cuddling, kissing her for the first time. Just keep it grounded in that reality and the kind of reality that you want to create for yourself in the future. And if you do that occasionally, if you're single for long term, that can start that rewiring process. It's not going to get you past the finish line, though. There's only so much that visualization can do. Reality is always going to feel different than a visualization or a fantasy will. Also, just physically, if you want to rewire to the physical sensations of real sex, the best thing you can do if you don't have that opportunity for real sex is to actually use a male sex toy that better simulates that feeling of penetration. So using that with lubrication will actually be better for your physical rewiring than just using your hand, especially if you're using no lubrication or rough stimulation with your hand. It's not going to feel similar at all to real intercourse. Suffering from PIED because I was addicted for 8 years. I was edging a lot with porn, and now after 1.5 years of nofap, I've started getting morning wood, but not getting erection the whole day. So am I still in flatline? I've been heavy edging and addicted for 8 years. How long will it take to recover? Will fantasizing about real women slow or quicken the recovery? So I answered that already, but another thing that I'll add to the porn-free masturbation or fantasy is that you should always listen to your body. And if your body is not getting aroused to that stuff, to self-touch, to realistic grounded fantasy, then your body is telling you it needs more time to recover and get some sensitivity back. So don't force it if your body's telling you this doesn't feel right. You were addicted for 8 years, you edged a lot. It's been 1.5 years on nofap, and if that has been an absolutely porn-free 1.5 years, excellent work. All of that time, I hope and I think, will add up to a wonderful future in which you can enjoy your sexuality the way it was intended. 1.5 years, I know that's a long time. Some people it does take longer than others. What I tell most people is that if you are able to stick to those guidelines, abstain from porn substitutes like attractive imagery on a screen that isn't technically porn but is still sexually exciting to you, then most people will experience significant positive changes within 90 days, 3 months, and full recovery within a year. You're already at 1.6 years, you said, which I know is beyond that timeline, and it sounds like you're still not back to where you want to be. that you're getting morning wood now, which is a great sign. That is a good sign of recovery, but you're not getting an erection the whole day. So I don't know the details. Are you in situations where you want to be getting an erection? Are you making out with someone? Are you, close to someone that you're attracted to that you want to have sex with and you're not getting an erection? Or is it just that you're not getting erections while you're grocery shopping and playing basketball and stuff, and you're not putting yourself in those situations? Because that could be the case where you're not sure at this point. Like, it's been a long time since you masturbated maybe, and you're just not sure, is my sexuality there or is it not? But you might find that if you're actually on a date and you're kissing somebody, like, oh, I feel it, it's there, but you're just not putting yourself in those circumstances to feel it. So without knowing more, that's what I would tell you. Morning wood is a great sign. If you've been holding off dating until you're sure that your PIED is gone, I think that now is the time to start exploring that and put yourself in those situations, those circumstances where you have the chance to get some sexual excitement from a real life interaction with a real person. Hey, Noah, I don't have good social relationships with people. Does that affect my PIED recovery? Well, of course, you need at least one social relationship to fully rewire that social relationship with that person that you're being intimate with. So in that sense, this can affect your PIED recovery, but in general, I think this is more likely to have an effect on your ability to stay porn-free. Because people who are addicted to porn, and I don't know if that describes the person who wrote me this question, but people who are addicted to it, we're using it as a solution, usually a solution to difficult emotions like stress, boredom, or loneliness. Loneliness is a big one. And those are real needs, real psychological needs that we have that we are trying to meet in a dysfunctional way just by using porn and by overriding those feelings of lack, those feelings of loneliness, with the intense stimulation of pornography and masturbation. And if you don't try to meet those real needs in healthy ways by having good relationships, even you don't have to be the belle of the ball, you don't have to be a social butterfly, but just having 2, 3, 4 solid friendships, that can be enough for a lot of people. Like, that's more meaningful for most of us than a bunch of more shallow friendships. But if you don't have that, it can make staying away from porn much more difficult. Because if you can't meet that real, valid need in the healthy way that it was intended to be met, you'll unconsciously be craving the solution that you do know and that has worked for you, quote unquote, in the past. Hey, Noah, got myself a Gary Wilson tattoo. Wow. That's cool. I'd like to see it. Is it like a portrait or is it like a quote of his? What is it? Yeah, Gary made a huge difference in my life. For those of you who don't know, go on YouTube and search for the TED Talk, The Great Porn Experiment by Gary Wilson. That was my light bulb moment that woke me up to realizing all the damage I had done to myself with my porn habits, and set me off to change my life. And I eventually got to meet him and we became friends, and he passed away a few years ago. But yeah, definitely a hero of mine. And that's cool that you got a tattoo. Must have meant a lot to you as well. I'm on an almost 5-month streak now without any porn, sex, or orgasm, and I'm still deep in the flatline. Someone who has also been on this journey told me that this is long enough and I can start having sex and orgasm. According to him, it will indeed deepen my flatline and it will feel like a setback, but I just have to do this a couple of times, and then the flatline will get shorter and disappear. He says this is what rewiring is. I'm not sure, as on previous streaks, orgasms did in fact feel like a massive setback. What's your perspective on this approach? Should I wait for things to end naturally, or could his approach be the right one? Right now, it feels like it will never end. In general, what I tell people who are in this circumstance is that flatlines, most of the time, certainly not all the time, but most of the time, end on their own within 6 months. And that within that time, you should just wait for that flatline to end, wait to feel your libido start to surge back again, and then rewire. Practice intimacy, practice sex. See how it goes. But if you get past that 6-month mark and feels like nothing is changing, then it can be beneficial in my experience with clients to go ahead and try anyway. Put yourself in those circumstances, date, try to be intimate, and see if your body just needs that nudge to wake up out of the coma of sexuality that you've been in. And that can be the push you need to get your libido kick-started again. But that only works if when you're in that circumstance, your body does respond, at least in part. If it responds at all, then you can build on that. You don't have to force sex the first time it responds, that you're close with someone that you're attracted to. But you can take your time over several weeks, keep putting yourself in those circumstances. That is rewiring. You should be able to build on that experience, build on that excitement. And you might get to the point where you're having sex, even though you thought you were on a flat line. And yes, indeed, after having an orgasm, it can feel like a setback. You can feel like you're back in the flat line. You wait until your body feels more ready again, and then you do it again. And that can be a way out of the flat line. But again, most flat lines end on their own. You don't need to do that. But if it's lasting so long that you feel like, I want to do something about this, 5 months you're at, I'm not saying you have to wait until exactly the 6-month mark to try this approach. If you want to try it sooner and you have the opportunity, you can. But if you're in those circumstances and your body is not responding at all, I wouldn't recommend trying to force it by fantasizing about porn or by using pharmaceuticals like ED meds. I would recommend, if you do think that all that's going on is PIED and there's not something physically wrong with the blood flow to your penis or anything like that, that you just give yourself more time. I've seen flat lines that were longer than 6 months come to an end on their own as well. I know that's not a clear yes or no black and white answer, but few things in life are. During a rebooting process, if you feel your libido coming back after a period of flatline, but you are still single or without any sexual partners, can it be a dangerous time that enables a relapse? Yeah, that can absolutely be a dangerous thing. That's what a lot of us want going into this journey, is to get our libido back, but we don't prepare properly for that to happen. Because if that happens and we don't have access to sexual opportunity, or even if we do, even if we're in a relationship and we have that access to sex, it doesn't scratch the same itch in the exact same way that porn does. And that's not to bash real sex and intimacy. It's just addressing the reality that it's different. It's not going to slot into the place that porn had in your life perfectly. With real sex and real intimacy, it's not a purely selfish act. You have to consider the other person's desires, moods. Maybe you're in the mood, they're not. Or maybe they are, but you don't want to deal with their desires or the insecurity or self-consciousness that might come with being intimate with another person. You just want to take care of yourself. And that's something that porn can provide that real sex cannot. So no matter your circumstance, in recovery, but when your libido is coming back, your sensitivity is rising, that all can create more danger. It's what we want, but it can also create more danger of relapse. And because our sensitivity has increased, if we do relapse and go back to porn, it feels even more powerful than we remembered, because our sensitivity is higher than it has been in a long time. And so it's very stimulating. It can make it an even stronger pull to keep coming back to it and keep binging. And of course, that's not what we want. So what can you do about that? Well, you can be aware that that's going to happen, and you can prepare properly for it. There's a lot of things that you can do to prepare. I spent a lot of my time talking about these things. I could spend hours and hours and hours talking about different strategies to help you stay porn-free. I put it all in my online course, My Life Rebooted, which guides you step by step into building a sustainable and permanently porn-free life. You can learn more about that in the link tree down below in the description. So I put all that in one place so people can learn on their own time. Another thing that's hugely helpful is accountability software. software that you install on your devices that allows you to, yes, block adult content, but you can also ask people in your life to be your accountability partner through that software. And that way, the software monitors what you're doing on your devices. And if you look at sexual content, it will alert your accountability partners. And that can take a lot of the heat out of an urge when it comes, knowing that it's not going to stay a secret, not going to be private. Many other things you can do as well, but that's the general principle, is to prepare for the hard times when you are feeling strong. Hey, Noah, got no questions, man. Just wanted to thank you for this. I've been living a different life. Where's well, first of all, congratulations. Glad you're doing well and still coming back here and sharing your success with us. Where is Gabe Deem, though? Why isn't he uploading? I'm not in charge of Gabe Deem's upload schedule or life, just in charge of mine. I speculate that, this is a hard thing to keep talking about year after year. It's, there's social stigma and taboo about it. There's a lot of trauma and emotion that people who are struggling with porn addiction and porn-induced sexual dysfunction go through. It can be tough to keep talking about this year after year after year. And sometimes people just want to move on with their lives and stop thinking about porn and stop thinking about all this stuff, especially as they've stopped using porn themselves. I'm not saying that this is Gabe's mindset or what's going on for him, but just my own experience in this field and knowing a lot of other people who have stopped talking about it, stopped posting. That's often the reason. And for me, I keep going for a couple of different reasons, but I think the real thing that keeps me going is that I tend to stay away from the controversy, the debates, and just focus on helping people who are ready to be helped. And I get real satisfaction from seeing them change their lives for the better, enter into healthy relationships. Guys in the group that I'm in, I've seen them get married, start having kids, just completely turn their lives around. And it's very gratifying, keeps me going. Hey, Noah, you mention a male sex toy often. Have you ever used one, and can you recommend a brand? Is water-based lubricant better than silicone lubricant that I've heard may damage latex? Thanks. I don't have a specific brand recommendation. Maybe I should get a sponsor or something. I haven't used one in a very long time, but when I was single years ago, I did use one. Not super often, but enough to know about it, know how it felt different from using my hand, and enough to know that, yes, this feels more similar to intercourse than using my hand. And I don't have a specific brand to recommend. I think there's probably a bunch just available online or in a sex store near you. I would avoid the sex store, though. Just order one online so you're not surrounded by porn when you're trying to buy it. But as for lubricants, just make sure that your lubricant you're using is compatible with the material that the toy is made of. I don't think that silicone-based lubricants are reactive with anything. I think you're thinking of oil. Like if you're using an oil with something that's made of latex, then it will break down the latex. But silicone shouldn't be reactive. And I actually prefer silicone-based lubricant because it doesn't dry and doesn't get sticky like water-based lubricant does. For sex, mostly, I'm talking about. I keep falling victim to chaser effect when I orgasm orally or by hand because me and my girlfriend haven't had intercourse. Do I need sex to complete my healing? My longest streak has been 60 to 70 days. So, sex, even once you're having sex, it's not going to solve your cravings for porn. It's not going to be the capstone on your recovery from porn addiction. It's not going to stop your relapses. You'll probably have a chaser effect after having intercourse as well. That might pose a challenge to you and get you having that urge, that craving to go back to porn. So don't wait don't just hope and think that having sex is going to fix that. You need to address that in other ways. And like I said, I talk about this all the time. There's a lot of depth, a lot of breadth to go into and how to address that. Another way that you can start learning is, if you haven't read it yet, just read my book. I make the PDF of my book available for free online. Just subscribe to my newsletter. You can find that link in the link tree down below as well. I'm seeing a lot of message retracted symbols. Are you guys deleting your messages, or are they getting deleted by some filter? Let me know. You know what? I'm Edgar. I've been porn free for 157 days after an addiction that started at 11. During sex, I get an erection but feel total numbness. Can I fully recover real pleasure? Yeah, I've been there as well, especially if you had any sort of death grip, or the physical way that you masturbated was very different from the feelings of intercourse. Even once you get your erections back for real sex, it can feel like it's numb, like you can't feel much of what's going on. And I know that that's frustrating. I can tell you that for me, that did improve in time. It improved a lot. Another factor that I'll mention here that I know doesn't feel the same for everybody, but another factor is circumcision. I'm against infant circumcision. I think it's an abominable thing to cut off a healthy piece of a young boy's body. It does have a lot of function, and some of that functionality is in sex. You'll probably have much more sensitivity if you are uncut than if you are cut. So that can be a factor as well. You can still enjoy sex, even if that's a factor for you, even if that's contributing to the numbness that you're feeling during intercourse. You can still recover some sensitivity as you stop your masturbation, give yourself time, recover that physical sensitivity. But that can be a factor. And so I wanted to inform you about that as well. Give it more time. 157 days, that's less time than it took me to fully recover my sensitivity to the level that I'm at now. Porn free for 1 year. I've been married for 6 months. I have no PIED now. My sex life is very pleasurable with a hard erection. I could intercourse daily, sometimes 2 times in a day. Now I will be a father soon. I face a problem during intercourse now, though. After 2 to 3 minutes of pleasurable intercourse, my penis loses erection. After that, I can't get an erection again. What can I do? Note, I have lower urinary tract symptoms. It's been confirmed through x-rays of my urinary tract. That's why I can't do Kegels, even though it may be very helpful for me. All right, so you've been porn-free for 1 year, married for 6 months. You've been having intercourse daily, sometimes 2 times in a day. It's been consistent, it sounds like. It's been regular. Everything's been great. And now recently there's been a resurgence in problems. I don't know from what you wrote to me if this is due to something related to your old PIED. If it is, it could be that you're just having sex too often and your body is telling you, hey, this is a little bit too much. If that's the case, then you can have sex less frequently, or you can still be intimate but not keep it focused on the penis every day. And if you reduce your frequency, you might notice some improvement in that, and you can find that balance that works with your body, because it's different for everyone's bodies and brains. It could be that. It could also be psychological. Maybe it is that something is on your mind, or there's something going on in your relationship, or you're thinking about becoming a father. That could be a factor. I really don't know from what you described to me. But if you want to talk in more detail and get some help getting to the bottom of what's going on, you can book a coaching call with me. We can spend an hour getting into it, diving deep, And maybe through asking you questions, I can get a better idea of what's going on here and how to fix it. Hey, Noah, for the long flatliners out there, any strategies on how to get out of it? You read a lot about cold showers and HIIT workouts, etc. Is that valid, or is it just about abstinence? Yeah, I know the long flatliners have it tough, and they're often the ones out there like asking for help. And I understand why. Like, it's frustrating and distressing to feel like you don't know how long this is going to last or what you can do to help it go faster. So it can be kind of a misrepresentation. You see a lot of guys posting about long flat lines, but I think it's actually less common than that would make you interpret, because those guys just are online longer, keep continuing to ask the questions, continuing to bring up their situation. Whereas the guys who recovered more quickly, they're moved on with their lives. They're not posting about it and talking about it anymore. So what can you do? Already talked about this a bit in the stream. My normal advice is, wait for 6 months. Most of the time it will resolve within that period of time. If it has not resolved and it's continuing, then I would advocate that you try to change something. To know what to change, I would need to speak to you personally, but for some people, even though they have been in a flatline, they've continued masturbating maybe once a week or a couple times a month. If they have been doing that, I say, okay, change that. Stop masturbating entirely. Go completely abstinent for a few months. See how that affects things. If the opposite is true, they've been completely abstinent all this time, then I might say, okay, let's try the opposite of that. Open yourself up to dating if there's romantic opportunity, if you can have the opportunity for intimacy and rewiring. Embrace it, even though your body doesn't feel ready. Just put yourself in that circumstance and your body might surprise you. Now, if it doesn't, if you're still feeling flatline and numb, you don't need to force it to happen, but open yourself up to the possibility that your body might react in those circumstances. Or if you don't have any of those opportunities, then you can try self-touch, sexual self-touch, and masturbation with the guidelines in mind that we talked about earlier in this stream. Again, search for on my channel the video, is masturbation healthy or not? And that could be the cue that your body needs to reawaken your libido and your sexuality as you open that door back to sexual pleasure again. For some people, they seem to need that cue, that push for their body to reopen itself to sexuality. Or it could be that none of that works and you just need more time. Honestly, sometimes it's just about more time. As for your other questions about cold showers and exercise, yes, living a healthy lifestyle in general is going to help. It's going to help every aspect of your life. I'm a big advocate of cold water therapy, cold baths, dips, cold showers. I think there are a lot of benefits to it. I made a video on this channel that I did pretty poorly about cold water therapy, but you can search for that, watch me talk more about it and all the benefits to it. As for specifically whether it will help you get out of a flatline, it couldn't hurt. I don't think we have any research that adds evidence to either side of that, but it couldn't hurt. Okay. Is it impossible to quit porn, but your life sucks? This is an honest question, by the way, not trolling. I'm not sure I understand the question. Is it impossible to quit porn, but your life sucks? Well, your life sucking is definitely going to make it harder to quit porn, right? Quitting porn will often cause a cascade of changes that improve your life, but you can work it from the opposite direction too. You can focus on improving your life, meeting your real needs for passion and purpose and connection with people and physical health and all that. And that will help you to not need porn as much anymore and to start leaving it behind. So you can work it from both angles. Yes, focus on learning about recovery, what you can do to stop using porn, but don't just focus on that and wait for the rest of your life to get better. Do what you can to improve your life one step at a time, one day at a time. Just taking one step forward in different aspects of your life. I know it's easy to get overwhelmed when you feel like your life is nothing like you want it to be, but one brick at a time, man. That's how a house is built, one brick at a time. Focus on like, well, what's one thing that I can do today? One thing that I can change about my habits that I know would make my life a little bit better, that would fulfill my needs for all those things we talked about. Or like at least put me one step closer to fulfilling those needs. You know what? Doing no FAP and strictly following no porn from the last 20 days after failing several times. But in the last 3 to 4 days before, I had morning wood. But again, I lost my morning wood for more than 2 years. Okay. It sounds like you've been trying to recover for a while, but you've been caught in relapse cycles. You get a streak, maybe a week, 2, 3 weeks, and then you relapse again. That's my interpretation of what you said. As long as you are stuck in that relapse cycle, you're not going to get very far in terms of PIED recovery, especially if you're relapsing, your streaks are less than a month. It's still, you're doing worthy work. You're figuring out what you need to do to stay porn free for longer than that, which is great. And I want to encourage you in that, but I also want to be real with you that if you're relapsing frequently, every week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you're probably not going to get very far in your PIED recovery. But it sounds like you've gotten far enough that you started getting morning wood back after more than 2 years without it, which is great. That's a good sign. That's a positive sign. Take some inspiration and motivation from that in order to keep going and do what you have to do to figure out how to stay porn free more permanently and sustainably. And of course, I offer a lot of resources to help people do that. So explore those in the link tree down below. After PIED recovery, do we have to avoid steamy scenes which randomly come in movies, or is it fine to watch them after recovery? So that's more about what's happening in your brain than what's happening on the screen. For me, in regular TV shows or movies, sex scenes hardly ever have an impact on my brain. Like, I don't feel sexually excited from watching sex scenes in movies or on TV. It just no longer clicks that switch in my brain for me. So it's not a problem. But if it does still flip that switch in your brain, if it gets you sexually excited, like, it's fine to just be sexually excited, and then if you can just let that go and move on, it's going to be fine. It's not going to have an impact on you. But if it gets your engine going and makes relapse more likely, gets you like fantasizing more, having more urges, then it is probably something you want to avoid, at least for now. Maybe it will be different another year from now, after you've been having great sex regularly for a long time in a healthy relationship. Maybe it won't have nearly as much impact on you. So really, it's about the effect it has on you. You got to be honest with yourself about that. How many years are you free from PMO? How would you describe your life now? What's the key of your success? Thank you so much. My journey, I started my porn-free journey at the very beginning of 2014. That's after I saw Gary Wilson's TED Talk, The Great Porn Experiment. I was porn-free for about 9 months before my first relapse, which happened because I'd lost a relationship a few months earlier, and the life wasn't going as well as I wanted it to, and just things were stacking up, and all of a sudden something broke in my brain, and it became a possibility for me to use porn again, and I did, 3 times in one night. And after that, I realized I'd underestimated the strength of my addiction. It took me about a year after that, off and on streaks and relapses, to relearn some lessons I'd already learned, to learn some new lessons, to put the pieces together for long-term sobriety. So that was like end of 2015, I think, that I was able to rebuild more sustainable, permanent porn-free sobriety. So you can do the math. What's life like now? Life is good. It's not perfect. There's challenges, there's problems. Part of recovering from addiction is recognizing that problems aren't bad. Problems are life. Challenges are life. You can get energy from that. You can look forward to moving through and solving those challenges and those problems. You don't have to be burdened down by them, weighed down. I'm in a long-term relationship. Our first child is on the way, which I don't know if I've mentioned in these live streams before, but I'm going to have a son come this December, projected. So I'll be a first-time dad. So we're looking forward to that. Very excited about that, of course. And what's the key to my success? There is no one single thing. If I can break it down to one single thing, it's a stubborn unwillingness to give up and open-mindedness to keep and humility to keep learning new things and to keep trying new things, knowing that I can't do this on my own, and I obviously the things that I have been doing haven't been working, so I have to be open-minded. I have to be humble. And as for how you can do it, that's the mindset that I think you should be starting with. But the particular actions and the particular nature of your path, your journey that's going to lead to you being permanently porn-free, it's going to be entirely unique to you, and it's going to be your own. Your path is going to look similar to the paths of others, but it will be your own, a path that you have to forge. But you don't have to do it entirely in an isolated way. As I said before, I have a community that I run, the Rebooter Support and Discussion Group. Highly recommend you consider joining. You can learn so much from me there. I'm in almost every meeting. We have 3 meetings a week. There's many other guys there who are regulars. You'll get to know them, get to know people who are years porn-free and still coming back and sharing their wisdom and what they've learned with others. Get to know people who are more close to where you are right now. You can inspire each other onward. So consider that. All right. Hey, Noah, I'm recovered from PIED since a couple of years already. My question is, how do we deal with people who are into porn but don't believe in PIED, as there's a lot of skeptics saying PIED doesn't exist? A live and let live, man. You don't have to convince anybody else. You know your truth. You know it's real because you've experienced it. You don't need to convince anybody else. It's no one's job but yours to pilot your own life and to decide whether or not you're going to use porn or live sober from that. So, yeah, you don't have to, and you can't convince everybody. There's plenty of things that I believe that I think are important that in my younger days, I would, do my best to convince my family and my friends, like, oh, why don't you see it the way that I do? But not everyone's going to see it the way that you do. Everyone has their own version of reality that we're living inside. All right. I think I got to all the questions. Probably going to call it soon. We're taking care of a couple of foster boys this weekend. My partner and I, we do respite foster care, which is like short-term foster placements. So probably going to go to the park after this, have a good time with the kids, and enjoy the sunshine while we still get some before it starts raining here in the Pacific Northwest autumn. All right, gentlemen. Much love to you. Have an amazing porn-free weekend. I'll see you next time.